Welcome everybody to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. Today we're going to be covering topics. We got an off day for the Brewers, but we're still going to be covering a little bit of Brewers talk. We're going to get into the Packers. They have their preseason opener tonight against the Bengals, and then we'll look at a little bit of Bucks news, just a little observation going into some of the training camps coming up for them. But with that, we'll get her started off right now with the Brewers. Like I said, off day today, but we're looking at the White Sox coming up here tonight against. It's going to be Corbin Burns against Kopech in Game 1. It looks like that's your probables as of right now. 7-10 start there from Chicago. This series is looking to be, it might be a make or break series for the Crew, honestly, looking at what they did against some not so great teams in the Nationals and the Pirates and the Rockies. They took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. Really, we're hoping for a sweep in that series, or at least a series win against the Nats or the Pirates. They split against the Pirates, took 1 from the Nats and took 2 from the Rockies. That was your part of your schedule where you're hoping that you were going to blossom a little bit. Here's the end of that right now. The struggling White Sox going down to Chicago. This is a series you need. You need to take at least 2 of 3, if not 3 of 3, especially looking down the schedule here with the Dodgers and the Rangers up next after you play these White Sox. So like I said, Game 1, Burns, Kopech. That's a matchup the Brewers should be able to take advantage of. Kopech coming in this game is 5-10 with a 4.43 ERA. Minimal experience against Kopech, though, for the Brewers. Looking like Santana's about the only guy who has gotten a couple hits against Kopech. He's got 2 home runs, actually, a 3.33 average. Tyrone Taylor's gotten at bat against him. No hits. Yelich got 1 at bat, no hits. Other than that, that's about it for this Brewers team against Kopech. Same thing across the board there for the White Sox against Burnsy. Trace Thompson, he's been decent. Excuse me. Against the Corbin Burns. Other than that, this White Sox team hasn't really had much exposure to Corbin Burns. Yeah, Yasmani Grandal does have 2 at bats against him. He's batting .500 against Corbin Burns. But besides that, there isn't much experience. So it's a new environment for both guys going against each other. I'm hoping Cy Burns comes out, does what he does, what we've seen as of late from Corbin Burns, and he can set the table for that Game 2 matchup where we're looking like we're going to have Woodruff against Scholtens from the White Sox. Woody coming into his second start. He looked good coming back off the injured list. Let's see if they kind of expand the start out a little bit for him, let him roll deep into the game. And then looking at that Game 3, that's going to be on Sunday, that 1:10 start. Freddie against Dylan Cease. That looks like it could be a matchup. Freddie Peralta has been pitching a little bit better as of late. Besides that Braves game, he has looked good in his last, I would say, 5 starts. He has that 1 blow-up inning like we talked about where he just struggles. But besides that, Corbin Burns, Woodruff, and then Peralta. I like the Brewers pitching matchups going into this series. It's just a matter of if this offense can pick up. And that's where it leads me into my next topic I was going to talk about. I've thought about it all season long. When's the right time to push the panic button on Willy Adames? And I think I am pushing the panic button on Willy Adames right now. He's struggling. He really is. It's been an all-season thing. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. We hope that he's going to bust out of it eventually. But looking at Willy, I don't know if it's mechanically, if it's mentally, if it's emotionally, if there's something bothering Willy, if it's an injury, if he's hurt. I don't know what's going on, but Willy Adames has not been able to find his stroke at the plate. And sitting at that 202 average right now, getting those 2 days off against the Rockies. I know he had that big home run in that 3rd game of the series. Maybe, just maybe, that's what busts him out of this slump. Maybe I'm pushing the panic button now and he starts to roll. I'm not sure. But right now, looking at his numbers, looking at Willy Adames, what we've watched day after day, all season long now, it's a struggle. And then you see him for a game and he gets 2 hits and you're like, okay, here he comes. Willy Adames is starting to find it again. And then he loses it. He loses that bat. He just has not been able to find it. And that really puts me into my thought with the Brewers hitting coaches. Why can the Brewers not put a hitting coach into the system that fixes bats, and when we get these minor league guys up, just continues to let them go and just let them roll? I mean, you look at a guy like Willie Adames, came to the Brewers, had a good first season. Last season, he was just a big home run guy. And now, looking at him down to that 202 average, what are the hitting coaches doing besides playing Angry Birds on their iPads down there in the dugout right now? That's all I can think they're doing. I don't know, because as much time as they spend on that iPad, they haven't found anything in Willie Adames' swing apparently to fix it. There's simple things. Willie Adames has this thing they call it. It's called a dip. He dips. He tries to get that uppercut on the ball. I get the whole thing with launch angle. I understand the launch angle concept in the game of baseball. Willie Adames takes launch angle to a new extreme. How are you ever going to hit a ball when you're swinging straight up towards the sky every time you're up there? There's no consistency there. You're not going to be able to. I understood launch angle when the shift was on and you were Joey Gallo against 12, or there was 9 guys on the right side of the infield. I get that. Now we're looking at, we got to get launch angle because we can't hit it the other way. So we need launch angle to hit it over top ball. There's no shift. Willie Adames still has the launch angle swing. Why can't we just implement with Willie Adames line drive? Swing level, swing across, line drive. That's all we need out of Willie Adames. He could be a solid hitter, but he's got an uppercut to his swing. Mechanically, it can be fixed, but who's going to fix it? Willie Adames, I guarantee you, out of all the guys in the world, he's on one lonely island right now trying to figure it out. And these hitting coaches for the Brewers have not been able to help him. Even like looking at a guy like Joey Wiemer. You watch him bat. How can you hit a baseball when your bat starts up, comes back down, comes back up, all in one motion? You're not consistent. He's not consistent with his swing, and it's a million miles per hour in an uppercut. There's no consistency in that swing. If that's what got him to the pros, well, it's not working right now. It really isn't. Batting .216 for the Crew right now. Christian Yelich, level cut. Yeah, he hits the ball on the ground a lot, but those babies, they have eyes. They find holes. They find the grass out there in the outfield. And that's what we want to see out of these guys. William Contreras even. Contreras has got that line drive swing. He hits liners into the gap. Missiles down the first base and third base line. William Contreras is a great opposite field hitter. So is Christian Yelich. But those guys don't swing with that launch angle swing that's trying to drive the ball over top of the defense. They're trying to hit the holes. And that's what this Brewers team needs more of, is hitting the holes. You look at a guy like Sal Frelick coming up. Yeah, when he dips back, and he leans way back on that back. Like I thought Lorenzo Cain leaned way back. And you look at Sal Frelick, and he really leans back. But when he needs to just put the ball in play, he's in an 0-2 count. Look at what he does. I mean, it's almost like a tomahawk. He's just trying to put the ball in play. But you don't see that with these guys. Willie Adames, Joey Wiemer, they don't change the swing in an 0-2 count. They keep it the same, but they're not protecting. They're still trying to drive the ball out of the ballpark. That's cool. I love the home run ball. I really do. But this Brewers team, they don't even hit the home run ball. I thought, last year, this Brewers team was built to hit home runs. This season, they look like they're built to hit home runs, but they don't hit home runs. They don't get on base, and when they do, they can't drive in that run. Their strikeout rate isn't terrible, but it also is. I mean, it's up there. Their top hitters, they know how to strike out, and that's where I'm looking at this Brewers team in the inconsistency of just being able to get on base and just be able to push across runs the simple ways. I don't know if it's Craig Counsell who has to say maybe we need to implement the sack bunt again, because we could use it. We could really use the sack bunt. I don't know if sometimes we got to try the good old safety squeeze or just lay a straight up suicide bunt down. And just something to spark this lineup. I remember earlier in the season watching, I know Garrett Mitchell earlier in the season he seemed like a spark plug for this Brewers team. I mean, just with his speed, just with his ability on the bases. And I remember that game against the Padres early on. We were facing Yu Darvish, and Darvish had our number all day. And Mitchell came up late a bunt down, got on first, and then advanced to second. I think he stole second or there was a ground ball. Either way, got to second, got over to third on a stolen base, and then sac fly brought him in. And that was the one run that the Brewers desperately needed in that game to get to Yu Darvish and win that game. But that's what I mean. It's just the Brewers are missing the little things. They started the year against the Cubs and they were playing small ball. They were just the base hit was what they were doing. They didn't hit a home run for the longest time. And then all of a sudden they started to flip script again and they went away from that. I don't know if that's hitting coach problem, but it seems like it. It seems like the Brewers are lacking a solid hitting coach that's going to be the driving force for this offense. And they're missing a spark plug in on this team right now. Somebody to spark it, somebody to light it up. Sal Frelick is trying. He's trying to be that spark plug for the Brewers right now. Bryce Terang, I really do think he's coming around. I think he's finding his bat once again. Tyrone Taylor, he's hit or miss. He has a couple games where he's consistent, but honestly, Tyrone Taylor, I think he's a great person to have in the clubhouse, but that's about it. He's got decent arm in the outfield. Well, not decent. He's got a good arm in the outfield. Good glove, but his bat's inconsistent. And that's what I think the Brewers really need to wean out of this lineup right now is inconsistent hitters. Clubhouse morale or not, you need to at one point think about your offense because I know guys or players say and fans say, well, if we send down Joey Wiemer, clubhouse morale is just going to go way down and it's just going to kill the team. You don't think maybe that Christian Yelich, William Contreras, those guys that bat right behind Joey Wiemer in the lineup, they don't see Joey Wiemer struggling, that he could use that time in the minors right now? Because if I'm those guys, I see it. I do. And I see it as a diehard fan of the Brewers. I see that I like Joey Wiemer. I really do. And I think he could be an instrumental part to this Brewers organization. But I do think he needs to work out some kinks. And I think the only way he's going to work out those kinks in is less pressured situations in AAA, just like they did with Bryce Terang. I thought Bryce Terang was a very influential person on this team to start the year. I thought he was going to be potentially in talks for Rookie of the Year right away. His bat was hot. His glove looked good. I mean, I jumped off the charts for him, and then all of a sudden, he just started to struggle. And then they finally said, okay, enough's enough. We're going to send you down to AAA. Get that bat right. We'll bring you back up. And that's what they did. And I think, honestly, it benefited him because now you look at him, his chase rate's going down. He's not swinging so much out of the zone. And he came back up and he's starting to get hot. He's starting to hit the ball. And you look at, and that's what I mean with Joey Wiemer. Maybe it's just a week. Maybe it's 2 weeks. Let him have some time in AAA where he can get right and then bring him back up. Maybe it's only a week. Keep him out of the lineup for a limited amount of time, but get him down to Nashville where the at-bats are less pressured and he can just find his swing again. I think that's all that a guy like Joey Wiemer needs, and he could blossom. But you look at, and that's where we're talking about struggles here. Blake Perkins, he's sitting at a 212 average right now, and I know he just had that walk-off. And I do like Blake Perkins. He can really battle at the plate. He stretches out some at-bats. He makes guys work. But Blake Perkins, Tyrone Taylor, Joey Wiemer, Willie Adames, those are guys that if there's a guy in AAA right now, Abraham Toro, Owen Miller, I really do think Owen Miller could use a shot at the Major League roster again. Or even Abraham Toro. But with those guys, if they keep consistently hitting down at AAA, how do you keep them down there and not give them at least a shot to come back up and fill in for one of these guys at the Major League level? I know with Tyrone, you'd have to designate him. Well, we've sat with Tyrone Taylor for years. We know he's not a star. We know he's a role player. He's a fill-in guy. He's not an everyday starter. He's not somebody that if we lost, it would be just detrimental to this team. I think that the Brewers need to really look at this team and say, where can we improve right now, internally or externally, with maybe a free agent that's out there right now that we can bring in, maybe on a minor league deal, that we could potentially implement into this lineup at some point for the Brewers. And that's where I'm looking at my next guy. I have seen some rumblings. And the Brewers Brewers fans and some fans have been talking about Trey Mancini. And he got designated for assignment from the Cubs. He was batting .234 this year, 4 home runs, 28 RBIs, 21 walks, and 78 strikeouts. His strikeout numbers are high this season. But would giving a shot to a guy like Trey Mancini really be that crazy for the Brewers? I don't I I don't see the real benefit in bringing a guy like Trey Mancini onto the Brewers right now just because of his average. Looking at the strikeout numbers, would that benefit the Brewers? No, that would not. But maybe a change of scenery for a guy like Trey Mancini getting into a small club again. Maybe that's the spark he needs. Maybe getting into a winning culture with the Brewers. Well, they are winning as of right now, but maybe that gives him the boost that he needs to find his bat again. That's something that the Brewers could test out. You've tried it with Darren Ruff. We tried it for Rowdy. We don't know what's going to happen with Rowdy when he comes back, but we've tried it with Rowdy, tried it with John Singleton, with Luke Voigt. I mean, we've worked around we've churned the barrel for a while now with position players. Trey Mancini could be a guy, if he comes in on a minor league deal, give him a shot. What's the worst that happens? I mean, Trey Mancini, a 263 career average for him. He's got about 129 home runs. Yeah, 129 home runs in his career for Mancini. I don't see it as a bad option. If he signs for a minor league deal for the Brewers, you have him down at AAA Nashville. He gets hot, bring him up. Let him run. Mancini's a proven major league infielder, first baseman. He can play left field for you. A proven guy that you could add into this team. He was a part of the Astros World Series team, or a part of the Astros when they went to the World Series. So I do think that maybe a shot with Trey Mancini could be worth it for the Brewers here in this next season, or in this season yet for them. And then with Brewers, lastly, I just wanted to get into excuse me. The Brewers have released, or the MLB has released, the Brewers top 30 updated prospect rankings. And with it right now, Jackson Churro did not change. He still stays at the number 1 spot. Coming in at number 2, Sal Frelick. Number 3, Jefferson Cuero. Number 4, Jacob Mizorowski. Tyler Black's coming in at that 5 spot, recently promoted up to AAA. So big news there for the Brewers. Potentially a third baseman. You could maybe see a guy like Tyler Black yet this season. Next, Robert Gasser coming in at 6. Carlos F. Rodriguez been pitching great for the Brewers. He's coming in that 7 spot. Rookie and recent draftee Brock Wilken, third baseman, in the 8 spot. Luis Lara for the Mudcats this season. He's been rolling above 300, sitting at 300. He's coming in that 9 spot. Cooper Pratt, shortstop. He's coming in that 10 spot. Another draftee of the Brewers this year. Abner Uribe hasn't logged enough major league time yet, him and Frelick, so he comes in at the 11 spot. Eric Brown Jr., shortstop for the Rattlers. He's coming in at the 12 spot. Eric Bittoni, he's coming in at the 13 spot. Daniel Gilarte, he's coming in at the 14 spot. Yofri Rodriguez, excuse me, he's coming in at the 15 spot. Josh Noth, he's coming in at the 16 spot right now. Robert Morris coming in at 17. Mike Bovey, another draftee of the Brewers, he's coming in that 18 spot. Bradley Blaylock, he was a pickup from the Red Sox in that Luis Urias trade. He's coming in the 19th spot right now. And then we are looking... Logan Henderson in the 20 spot. Dylan O'Ray at 21. Filippo Di Turi. Got to get some easier names in the minor league system for the Brewers. He's coming in at the 22 spot. Yadier Arminio, he's coming in at 23. Luke Adams, been hot right now. He's coming in at 24 spot. Matthew Wood, catcher, at 25. Juan Baez, he's coming in at 26. Bishop Letson, he's coming in at 27. Freddie Zamora, shortstop, he's coming in at 28. Hendry Mendez is coming in at 29. And Ethan Small is coming in at the 30 spot in the MLB rankings right now for the Brewers. So an updated prospect ranking there. Jackson Churro still getting hot down there for the Shuckers. Look for him to be up at the major league level at some point in next season, I'm thinking. for Jackson Churl. I know the hype's up for him, but I don't look for him before next season. And then we will get into the injury front for the Brewers. We'll just check it out real quick. Right now, it looks like Joey Wiemer is dealing with a stomach virus. Looks like he is day-to-day with that, so hopefully nothing too serious, and we'll have him back for the White Sox series. Carlos Santana, he's day-to-day, still listed as day-to-day, but he was back there for the end of the Rockies series. And then Jesse Winker is set to begin a rehab assignment with High A, Wisconsin next week. Also, Rowdy Tellez is set to begin a rehab assignment with AAA Nashville Tuesday, so this last Tuesday, for the Brewers. Julio Teheran, still no news on him on what's really going to happen with him. 15-day IL right now. And some prospect injuries right now. Eric Brown Jr. is day-to-day right now with a thumb injury. So some decent news there in the injury front. The injuries are starting to dwindle for the Brewers. So good to see. Hopefully we can keep guys off the injury list for the remainder of this season. That's what we're hoping for. Besides that, that is about all I have for Brewers talk right now. Next, we'll jump into the Packers. And it looks like Elton Jenkins got in a little bit of a scuffle again in the joint practice against the Bengals. He had a tussle right away with Pratt, and then in his second tussle is actually when he got escorted out of practice by Packers officials when they noticed they thought he was throwing punches at DJ Reader. So some decent news there that the Packers are ready to fight. We're ready to fight this season. We're ready to put it all on the field. So hopefully that got it out of Jenkins' system, though, before the season starts coming up here after the preseason. What to expect out of Jordan Love tonight for the Packers? Listening to Matt LaFleur, it sounds like they're not sure on if Jordan Love is going to get a lot of playing time, when he's going to play, how much he's going to play. We don't know his preseason schedule for Love right now, so it's kind of a wait and see. We'll see come game time here what the decision is on Love, or closer to game time, what the decision will be on Jordan Love. I'll keep you guys updated on the Facebook page, though, with all the news for the Packers. And looking at my next topic, I was going to get who's going to be Jordan Love's top target this next season. I really do think it's still going to be Christian Watson. He's explosive. He got a little bit better towards the end of the season last year. His hands, right off the bat, that drop against Minnesota when he was wide open, we were like, oh boy, we got stonewall hands out there. But he did get a little bit better towards the end of the season. Rodgers started to trust him a little bit going towards the end of the season last year, and maybe some time with Jordan Love going into this next season, actually working with the quarterback here in training camp instead of working with the rookies and everything like that, and then getting thrown in with Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully that creates more chemistry between him and Jordan Love. But I really do look for Romeo Doubs to be a close second in there with Watson. I think Doubs is going to be a reliable number 2 for Jordan Love this next season. Also, it looks like Roger Goodell is coming to training camp Monday, August 24th. Because of the draft being there, he's coming to town. He's going to do what Roger Goodell does, I guess, get booed a little bit. Who knows with Roger. And then it looks like for tonight, most of the Bengals starters will be out. What we expected, we're not going to see good old Joe Burrow. We're not going to see Jamar Chase, any of the big name guys, T. Higgins, DJ Reader. We're not going to see those guys. So I still look for a competitive game. The Packers will be in the same boat. They aren't going to play everybody. But we're going to be looking at the tight end, Luke Musgrave, to see what he's got. I really do think Luke Musgrave was a great pickup in the draft for the Packers this last off season, and I look for him to do big things leading up into this next season so far. So hopefully we see some great things out of Luke Musgrave here in preseason. I do think it's going to take a little bit for him to take off. I don't expect it right off the bat with him. I think it'll become like mid-season. We'll see a full-on Luke Musgrave, what he really has. But that's the same as I'm looking at Watson, Doubs, and Reed to see how they're going to fare early on in the season. They're young. They're really young at that wide receiver room. And we're going to see right off the bat if not having a veteran presence in there in that wide receiver room, if that's going to pay off for the Packers or if it's going to be their struggle, if it's going to be their downfall. It's one of those things where it's going to be a wait and see with this Packers team on what really unfolds with this really young skill position group for the Packers here this next season. And I really want to see how much Watson and Dobbs have progressed over this last offseason. It looks like, from what I've seen coming out of training camp and everything like that, Dobbs looks good. I mean, Dobbs, he's looking at him in joint practice day, a couple breakaways. Love hit him actually on a really nice throw over the top for, well, what would have been a touchdown, but it was joint practice, so it didn't really matter for a touchdown. But looking at that, I think that Dobbs is looking a little bit better. And Watson, we know what he's got. He's got some really great speed. He's got some decent hands, leaping abilities there, the athleticism. I look for Watson and Dobbs, and I really can't wait to see what Reed brings to the table for this Packers team. Can he develop into that solid number 3 target, or potentially even a 2 or a 1 for Jordan Love going in this next season? But that's going to be one of those things. Like I said, it's a wait and see kind of thing. And we'll catch it tonight here with the Bengals. We're going to see some of these rookies and see how they have developed over this past offseason and training camps. We've seen glimpses, but it's training camps, and you don't know truth until you see it on the field on the first game, which will be against the Chicago Bears. And that first game against Justin Fields, that looks like it could be a 10-year makeup of what's going to happen here in the NFC North. You look at Justin Fields, he seems to be the future of this Bears team. You look at Jordan Love. We hope we're praying that with the departure of Aaron Rodgers now, Love is the future of this Packers team, and we didn't waste a draft pick on him when we had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So that week 1 game setting up to be a big matchup in the NFC North, not just for this season, but for years to come for this Packers team. And that looks like, with that, that would be about it for my Packers talk. Actually, I'm just going to get into a little bit more with the Packers here for a second. It looks like they're going for a more aggressive defensive scheme, and I like that, getting a little bit more aggressive. They're talking about a little bit more on packages, really blitzing, getting at the quarterback, getting in there. I think that's going to be a big thing for this Packers team, is really getting after the quarterback this season, especially with guys like Devontae Wyatt. They said, day to day, he looks like he could be a star, and then he looks like he could struggle. So hopefully we see the best of Devontae Wyatt, having Kenny Clark in there too, maybe seeing a little bit of Lucas Van Ness, and then you have Campbell coming back, and Rashawn Gary, Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Darnell Savage out there at the safety spot, Rudy Ford, Keyshawn Nixon. This defense has got some playmakers on it, so hopefully going into this next season, we'll see this aggressive defense that they're talking about with this Packers team. Lastly, what I wanted to hop into was a little bit of Bucks news going into training camps, and that is some of the potential starting lineups that the Bucks could be looking at this next year. And we're looking at a couple of the options here, and I really do think these are your best options. Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, Lopez, and then either a combo of Jay Crowder or Malik Beasley. I think Grayson Allen's a good role player. I know people have talked about Bobby Portis coming into that starting role. I think he could be a spot starter, but I don't think Bobby Portis. I think he's very beneficial off the bench for this Bucks team. So I think having Bobby Portis off the bench, you either start Jay Crowder or you start a guy like Malik Beasley. And Beasley is a good 3-point shooter, so I think implementing him in there with Middleton, Holiday, and Lopez, Antetokounmpo, he's developed every single offseason, so maybe that 3-point game is going to be spot on this season. But looking at that, maybe Antetokounmpo is, or maybe Jay Crowder is the option in this because of the defensive aspect, but Malik Beasley could be the best option for 3-point shooting. It's gonna be a toss up. I think it's gonna depend on situation and who you're playing and where you're sitting, kind of thing. If you need more of that defensive aspect, or if you're gonna be leaning more towards the offensive aspect of it. But with that, I think that's all I have for Wisconsin sports talk for the day. Yeah, with that, I mean, just watch the Brewers tonight. They got the White Sox, big series over the weekend with the White Sox, and then the Packers preseason opener against the Bengals. Glad to have NFL football back. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow with another one. Deuces, Brew Crew.